Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. In the
Good
name of the
evening.
Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Christ, the true light, who enlightens and sanctifies everyone who comes into the world, let the light of your countenance shine upon us, that we may see your unapproachable light, and guide our steps in the way of your commandments, through the intercessions of the Theotokos and all the saints. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father, very much. Well, welcome, everyone. I'm David Owancia, the Executive Director of OCL. On behalf of the President, Peter Zaris, and other board members present here tonight, we welcome you to this program, which we're very thankful to Mr. Nick Anton for arranging, the Director of Operations of the Assembly of Canonical Orthodox Bishops in the U.S. We've spoken with Nick on several occasions. Our president, Peter, made the first contact through Archbishop Elpidoforos to help OCL understand more what the various committees of the assembly are doing and to educate us and to spend a little time with us. We have these once a month Sunday gatherings. We call them masterminds. But they give us a chance to not only meet some of the committee members, learn what they're doing, but find out how OCL can best help for this, the ultimate goal of the unity of the church in this country. Before we get into the program, I wanted to share a message from Proto-Deacon Peter Danilchek, who would have liked to have been present tonight. He is the Canonical Regional Planning Committee liaison, and he just asked us to share the fact that he's not able to be present due to some family commitments, but he's very thankful for the work that's being done in Atlanta, and it's being present tonight, and for the opportunity that OCL has offered to present this discussion. For those who are participating, we ask that you stay muted, at least in the first part of the program. We plan that the first half will be presentation, and then the second half will be discussion. Before we begin, we'd like you in the chat to please put your name, your parish, your jurisdiction, and the city and state where you are. If you could do that, that would be very helpful. The parish committee in Atlanta, this parish association, would like to know where the interest is, and the assembly would like to know too who is participating, so that future efforts could be directed possibly in those areas. So tonight we're happy to present, to welcome, the presenter is Father Thomas Zain, who is the liaison facilitator for the Clergy Matters Committee of the Assembly of Bishops. He's kind to join us today. He's in the airport, but he's making the effort to be present. And I believe he'll say a few words at the beginning. And then we have Father Christos Mars, who is the president of the Atlanta Orthodox Clergy Brotherhood and chair of the Atlanta Inter-Orthodox Parish Association. Father Christos is the priest who so kindly offered the beautiful prayer at the beginning of the session. And then we have with us Mr. Florian Yuan. He's a member of Saints Constantine and Helen Romanian Orthodox Church in Atlanta, and also one of the committee members of the Atlanta Inter-Orthodox Parish Association, named AIOPA, if I'm saying that correctly. So without any further introduction, I'll turn the program over. I believe, Father Thomas, do you want to say a few words at the beginning, and then we'll go into the program? Thank you.
Okay, sure. And forgive me in advance if there's some background airline announcements or noise. So basically what happened was, just to give the background to all of this, there was, during COVID, the Assembly Executive Committee started meeting on a weekly basis, and then almost throughout the whole period of COVID, discussing different policies, what everybody was doing, and so on and so forth. As a result of that, a lot of these committees, after COVID kind of died down, they needed the reason to keep meeting, which was a good thing. And so they started asking committees to present. So normally committees would meet once a year at the National Assembly, and or if there was an in-person meeting a couple times a year, maybe a couple of them would present at that. But this gave a new vehicle through Zoom. Everybody discovered Zoom like we're doing now, for the committees to give presentations on a monthly basis. After things calm down, they still meet about monthly. And at those monthly meetings, different committees of the Assembly give presentations, and that made a renewed impetus for the committees to become active again. Many of them had become dormant. Some of the bishops who were in charge of them had retired or passed on, and there's been a new energy, let's say, in the Assembly committees over the one of the good benefits of COVID. And one of those with this particular committee, some work had been done in the past on these pan-Orthodox associations, and but it kind of died out for a while. And now with this renewed emphasis and work on them, we have these two examples that we chose in Atlanta and in Akron, Ohio, to try to become models for the rest of the country. And Atlanta has developed very well. You're going to see the presentation from them. And also Akron, we don't have a lot about them. However, maybe Father Ian can fill us in. But they already have a pan-Orthodox lay association and a pan-Orthodox women's association, and they've always had a strong pan-Orthodox clergy association. We're just still in the process of getting them up to the kind of working with the Assembly. Atlanta, on the other hand, has been very active, working with the Assembly, getting organized, and these two places where there was already something that started before this committee was involved, especially Akron, we're trying to set up as models so that for the rest of the country to use. So there would be this grassroots pan-Orthodox cooperation on the one hand, and that would be there then connected to the Assembly for kind of a common platform, a common witness across the country, instead of everybody kind of doing their own thing. And with that, if you have any general questions for me, I don't want to talk too long because of the background noise, but you'll see from the presentations kind of where this is going.
Thank you very much, Father. We appreciate that introduction and information. Yeah, please put your questions in the chat or in the second half of the program. We can open up the microphones and you can ask him directly. We are planning to end by 8 o'clock, so we'll turn the program over now to the slides. Father Christos and Florian, take it away.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start here. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us here. Definitely appreciate the work that OCL is doing throughout many tens of years towards church unity. Like Father Thomas said, we're going to cover today the efforts in Atlanta, a little bit of history. We have an agenda here. It's quite generous, but I'll try to go relatively quickly through a couple of the topics and then focus more on what's happening here in Atlanta. So for some of you who might know or might not know about the Atlanta efforts, these are positioned within the Assembly of Bishops. So I just refreshed here the Assembly of Bishops mission statement taken from the Assembly of Bishops website. And then, as Father Thomas mentioned, the Assembly has 16 committees. And the two that we are particularly interested that this presentation is doing a deeper dive are the ones in the blue mentioned here to the left, the Clergy Matters Committee, and then the Canonical Regional Planning Committee. We are not going to talk about the other 14, but we're going to do a deeper dive in specifically in the Canonical Regional Planning Committee. So as we go through this particular committee, which is one of the 16, this is the work that this committee is being tasked with. And just as a reminder here, I'm going to read for some of you who are not able to see the screen here. So the number one thing there is to work with pan-Orthodox clergy brotherhoods and then inter-Orthodox parish associations to efficiently facilitate and maintain pan-Orthodox parish-to-parish communications, activities, and cooperation, the One Church initiative in the pilot metro areas. As Father Thomas mentioned, the 2 pilot metro areas currently identified by the Assembly of Bishops are Atlanta, Georgia, and Akron, Ohio. The same committee has also 2 other lines of work, is to collaborate with the Clergy Matters Committee to identify entry points, studying and strengthening clergy brotherhoods. And Father Christos is going to talk in a couple of slides here about the Clergy Brotherhood in Atlanta, and then to expand the One Church initiative to help establish effective clergy brotherhoods and associations in several other metro areas to be determined. And this is another goal that we want to have here. We want to share what we are doing in Atlanta, but also tonight we want to maybe establish by the way of chat, certain connections and establish some relationships, because we want to learn from others as well. What happens in Akron, what happens in other cities, because as you can see, one of the items for the Committee for Canonical Regional Planning is not to limit just in the pilot metro areas. These are the 2 pilot metro areas, but expand to the entire, expand this type of effort to the entire United States. So from the Committee for Canonical Regional Planning, we're going to get in Atlanta into the Atlanta Orthodox Clergy Brotherhood. And I will let Father Christos, spend a few minutes and explain to the audience here what was going on, what is a bit of history, and what's happening with the Atlanta Orthodox Clergy Brotherhood.
Thank you, Florian. So the Atlanta Orthodox Clergy Brotherhood began around the year 2000 here in Atlanta. That was a year in which many transfers took place throughout Atlanta amongst many jurisdictions. His Eminence Metropolitan Alexios asked that the clergy get together to welcome everybody, since a lot of people were new, and they formed an organization under the banner Saint Cyril and Methodius Brotherhood, which was first president by his now Grace Bishop Sebastianos of Zilon. And as they continued to grow and things like that, they created part of their brotherhood, this wonderful soup kitchen idea that took place in the Church of St. John the Wonder Worker, the OCA parish in downtown Atlanta. And over the time, a few other presidents took place and took over. I eventually took over and am still the current president in 2016. But along the way, we've grown here in Atlanta through some parishes. We received some Serbian parishes, a few more OCA parishes, a few more Greek Orthodox parishes since 2000. And we actually would get together monthly for lunch and some kind of spiritual reflection, led usually by the brothers. We would do that along with a few other programs that we would do along the way, such as Sunday of Orthodoxy. During Christmas time, we would get together and do a kind of Christmas concert with a candlelight service to usher in Christmas. And we would also get together during the feast day of St. John Chrysostom to serve a liturgy together. This past year, we were blessed with 13 clergy and 2 hierarchs to do the feast day of St. John Chrysostom together. While we had a good camaraderie amongst the Orthodox clergy here in Atlanta, there was also a discussion about bringing more people in. His Eminence, as a visionary, wanted to make sure that we were offered up as an example to the to the canonical bishops, and through his encouragement, his love, and his continuing pushing, he asked that we create this under the guise of the under the Assembly of Bishops. And as such, each parish was tasked with offering 2 names from each community, along with the clergy, to come up with the AIOPA, which Florian will continue to talk about soon. And each person from the community was offered by the clergy. One person would be from their respective parish council or board, and the other person would be a lay person in the community. And the idea was that these people would also act in both the management of the church from the parish council or the board, to bring understanding and recognition to what is happening at the upper level, and then the people of the lay people who are not on the parish council to participate along with the clergy. But from the Brotherhood, we've been around as an organized group since 2000, so about 22 years. Thank you, Florian.
Good. Thank you, Father Christos. So now going even deeper under the Clergy Brotherhood, we arrived at the Atlanta Inter-Orthodox Parish Association, the name here, AIOPA. This particular association was established actually on the 17th of March as a committee of the AOCB. As Father Christos mentioned, each parish, we've sent invitations to the parishes that you've seen earlier on the slide, and most of them responded to participate. They were interested in participating, and as such, currently almost each parish is represented by one clergy and two laity people, as Father Christos said, one from the parish council and one from outside of the parish council. So this is the composition of the team. The mission of the association is taking here with help from Protodeacon Peter Danilchik. It's from the Assembly of Bishops, and you see it here very much aligned with the Committee for Canonical Regional Planning item, and that is to address common interest, needs, and concerns, to encourage communication and interaction among parishioners, and then to build strong associations of local Orthodox Church communities. So we've met on the 17th of March. That was the first official meeting. And during that meeting, we had about an hour of conversation. And Bill Marianes opened that particular meeting, explaining a little bit of what I shared here, kind of positioning this particular association within the context of the AOB, because again, as you can imagine, there were laity folks who didn't have a lot of education, the degree of education of why were they there, varying from person to person. So Bill kind of established the baseline and say, hey, this is what we are here. This is kind of the context of the effort. This is what we are trying to do. And then for about 45 minutes or so, people shared different proposals for activities. And after the meeting, when we looked at these particular activities, they generally fell under the 5 domains that I have here on the left, the religious, social, charity, development, and then communications. So the way we think about currently the activities that are happening within AIOPA, first we have doing type of activities. We understand here that we have to do certain things, and then we have to live the life of a larger Orthodox family, and also we have to impact the Orthodox parishioners in the Atlanta area. And so in the spaces of religious, social, and charity, we want to do those types of activities that can have an impact that's higher than the sum of what each one of our parishes can individually achieve. So, for example, in the space of charity, right, each parish has their own, charity activities, but what we are working now is to create maybe some of the charity activities where instead of, collecting, say, shoes in a parish, and the parish can collect 200 shoes. If you expand that to the entire Atlanta area, you can get an order of magnitude higher in the shoes collection. So we really want to focus on those types of activities where multiple parishes can get together, and then the impact towards the general orthodoxy in Atlanta is much, much bigger than the sum of each individual parishes can achieve. The second one here under the space of developing. We believe there is tremendous value when you put a number of parishes together that have different, maybe ethnic compositions, maybe different age of the parish, different sizes, because there's a lot of opportunity to learn from each other. And so we want to spend part of this time into creating certain activities that allow the AIOPA members, both clergy, laity, and then all together, to learn from each other and to do it in a way where we can share best practices, we can share experiences, we can share things that worked in the past, that maybe didn't work in the past, maybe share common challenges. So there is the strong belief that we can act as a unified, larger team here and really learn from each other and develop ourselves. And then the third piece on the communications is telling the story. The way we understand the pilot metro markets, they are here to, do certain things in those 2 cities, Atlanta and Akron, but they cannot be limited to those. The end game here is to achieve church unity over the entire United States. So as such, we want to make sure that we take time to communicate what we are doing, what results we are having, but also we want to receive communication from the relevant stakeholders. And I'll talk in a second here about the relationship with hierarchs. Then we have relationships with organizations like OCL, when we want to kind of share what's happening, because we know OCL has means to propagate the message in other parishes as well. So the communication team, as you're going to see it here, is starting to do a lot more work, because this one is an important one. Like I said, we don't want to be somewhere isolated in a corner and just do things by ourselves. We believe there's an important part of the mission here to really share, but also receive a lot of information that can help us become better. So we had this first meeting in March, on the 17th of March, as I said, and people kind of shared those ideas, and then we grouped those ideas onto the 5 domains. Then what was happening next? We went to the participants and say, hey, the way we collected those ideas that are falling under those five domains, which domain would you want to be part of? And we expressed that question out there, because we understand certain people might have a passion into one domain but not into another domain. So we wanted to allow people an opportunity to meet these domains with where their passion is. And as such, we had a quick survey, and people said, hey, I want to be part of this work group, or I want to be part of the other work group. And we had a couple of people that really wanted to be part of 2 work groups, and we definitely allowed that. And in the end, we asked people for priorities, right? What's your first priority? What's your second priority? What's your third priority? And in the end, we were able actually to create these work groups that were nicely balanced, as you can see here, somewhere around of 6 to 8 people, 5 to 8 people in that space, and really allow folks to join based on either their first priority or their second priority. So we believe from this, we didn't force anyone to be part of a group they didn't want to be part of, right? What we're also looking into this particular composition of the work groups is diversity, because we didn't want to have, a work group formed just by representatives from like 2 parishes in the same jurisdiction. So what we were able to achieve, I don't have here all the colors and the maps, but what we were able to achieve in these work groups, you have a diversity. You have people from various jurisdictions, from various parishes, because again, we believe in this power of diversity and the power of different experiences people have. And so that's how we created these particular work groups. And then after we've established these work groups, we told folks, well, okay, now we have the meeting in March where people express some ideas. Now we have the work groups formed. Can each work group look over the ideas that were proposed back in March and see if we can move these ideas into activities? That's a work in progress, and I'm going to go into the next slide, kind of what's happening there. But that's, from a process perspective, that's where we moved. And so I'm going to share this slide with you. I mean, if folks they cannot see the slide, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to explain. But this is a slide that has just the titles of the activities that each one of these 5 work groups proposed. You have a legend to the left that explains the colors. So just basically, these activities that you see in blue, that means that activity already completed. We have some activities that are in green. That means these activities are currently planned for dates in here. So the dates are expressed like the month and the year. We don't necessarily have very precise days as days, but we're working through that one. But you see kind of where they fall into. And the idea here was to make sure that we have a good diversity in time as well. Here's an important point. We understand this particular AIOPA work to be, this particular team, this particular structure to work for about 12 to 18 months. Why do we say that? We say that because on the Assembly of Bishop Vision 2020, in that particular document that was written in 2020, it said, the Assembly of Bishops wants to enhance over the next 3 years over a set of activities. So that's how we think about this one, right? Somewhere around 12 to 18 months. But what we want to do exactly what happens with the Clergy Brotherhood. We want to establish certain activities that can be replicated in the future, that can go organically well beyond a particular committee, a particular organization, because what we hope we can achieve here is really relationships between people. People get to know each other, people understand the events, and then we hope organically people can get together and continue these activities for the years to come. Will they continue all of these? No. Absolutely, we don't have that expectation, but at least some of these will continue organically without too much energy being injected in the process. So we have the green ones, like I said, on track. Then we have yellow ones where we need some help, and I'm going to come towards the end here on. We just have a yellow one on this slide where we're going to need some help. We'll share a bit what happened there. And then we expect that some of these activities will not happen because they require resources, they require engagement, and say, you know, there can be some of them as we arrive closer to them that we say, hey, look, you know, this is not going to happen, or we need to change something, or we need to abandon this activity, or we'll see. So we allow for that type of fluidity because we don't know at this point, you know, how things will look like 12 or 18 months from now. And then we also have some activities that, like I said, we are in the beginning now. Some of these activities will be compressed. For example, one of the ideas that came in March was to document the history. To document the history because, like I said, you know, part of the pilot metro area, we understand our objective is also to document the history in such a way that if someone wants to learn from it, it's there being documented. But now we embedded that documentation of the history into the website. So we have a website. It's part of the Clergy Brotherhood website. So the history, the activities that are happening are actually captured in the website. So we don't have to have something separated. It's going to be part of the website. So this is what happens, right? So I'm thinking like your eyes will go through this particular map. On the charity, we're still working through that one. There was some activity this week. We're going to have our next meeting. It's actually Tuesday, our monthly AIOPA meeting. And I've seen some activity in charity. So the hope there is they will come with one or maybe two activities that are firmer, and we can move this into a green status. So we have some activities happening in the charity as well. The last segment that we're looking here in the status update is under the AOCB AIOPA. So we want to track the meetings we have because that in itself, it's an opportunity for people to get together either via Zoom or in person. The meeting Tuesday is scheduled to be in person and Zoom. So we want to have more people in person, and then some people will be joining Zoom because they might be remote or because of the timing or whatever situation it is. But we want to track also the meetings because we believe these meetings are important and are a way to strengthen this particular relationship. So this is what we have in the, this is how we plan to track, and we plan to update this on a monthly basis and share it in our meetings such a way that we know kind of where everybody is and what the plans are, and we can get, we can really raise awareness and support because some of these activities, like I said, they require multiple parishes engagement, and we want to make sure that the clergy and laity are okay and they can participate to those particular activities. And one of the chart that we are looking into it, again, this is in the beginning, but it has the number of activities that you've seen on the previous slide. In blue is like, how are we doing, right? Are we establishing relationships? Are parishes being engaged? And in this particular slide, what you see actually, each dot, it's the geography of parish in Atlanta. The geography, it's a little bit compressed because we have some of the southern parishes are really far, so they would kind of go outside of the map. So I kind of brought them a little bit up, but they're still in the southern portion of the metro Atlanta. What you see here in different colors is the jurisdictions, and the bigger the dot, the more that parish participated in these activities. And when you see the lines, that means these two parishes connected somehow into one of these activities. Why is this chart relevant? It's relevant because you don't want to see all the lines between the purple parishes under a jurisdiction. So part of the church unity is the interjurisdictional relationships and collaboration. And that's what we want to see. We want to see lines between different colors. That tells us that a parish from Greek Orthodox met with a parish from OCA and they collaborated within one activity. So again, this is based on just the very few that we started, but we're looking at this one. Hopefully, you know, the dots will become bigger, the lines will be stronger with the activities, but also in this chart, what you see, we have some very isolated dots. And we have work to do in this space, right? Because we have parishes that, you know, chose not to participate. I mean, we'll be open here, right? And so we're kind of working through that, and I'll talk in a second about what are we doing in that space to make sure that we get everybody engaged, because the way we see it, we want to give everyone an opportunity, and in the end, we want to give everyone a chance to participate in those particular relationships. So where do we go from here? So first, we want to, and I'll go briefly through these ones and we'll open it to questions. We want to deepen the understanding. We recently run a survey and we asked the question, how well do you think you understand the problem of the canonical organization of the Orthodox diaspora? And some people said, very transparently, they said, I have no idea what you're talking about. You know, my parish priest asked me to be here, I came here, but I don't know what this is about, right? Where we have some other people that say, well, I can explain the problem to others. So we really like that folks explain that, because it's an opportunity, educational opportunity for us, and we're going to spend some time within AIOPA to make sure that people understand what is the problem statement, what we're trying to solve here, and then what's also happening. The other piece that we're trying to do is to increase the engagement of all the Atlanta area Orthodox parishes. As I said, we had some isolated dots. We don't want them to remain isolated. What we are seeing, at least in the beginning, we can open it for conversation later, is hierarchs really have a very important word to say. And when we have a direct dialogue with hierarchs, things are going very, very well. And in AIOPA, at this point, we benefited from 2 letters of support coming from His Eminence Metropolitan Alexios and then His Eminence Archbishop Nathaniel of Roea in OCA. You know, we had direct dialogue with them. They explained the problem. They explained how we can help. And at least for the ones that I've attended on my jurisdiction, which His Eminence Archbishop Nathaniel, we came out of that 1-hour meeting really understanding what the problem is, how can we help. And we had some tough questions as well, but it was a really, really very useful meeting. And so we received the blessings, because we know in local churches you don't want to do anything without the hierarch's blessings. So we received the blessing, we received support, and you know, Archbishop Nathaniel and His Grace Bishop Andre, they're very interested in what's going on. They ask us to send monthly updates. So we really see that when hierarchs are getting directly involved, you know, the people represented at parish, they are more motivated and they have energy to participate here, right? And so that's an important area we're looking into it. Like I said, we're in a stage where we expect some of these activities to have a decent amount of fluidity. So we're going to continue to create some activities, like I said. So we're going to plan and run some of them. We had good success so far, as you've seen in the one in blue, but we expect some fluidity. Like I said, some activities will drop from the list, maybe others will pop in the list. So we're going to kind of go along there. Keeping Father Christos in all the communication, to my knowledge, we were successfully achieving this. Why is this important? Because we think of Father Christos as more like the brain of this entire effort. You need to have someone that can see everything that's going on and because the audience is so, like, it varies in understanding, you know, it can help steer people on the right track, you know, in case there is something that people don't understand. Father Christos comes and provides understanding. So it's really important to have one person within an effort like this that has a very good understanding about what is the goal, what is the mission, and also can understand where people are and kind of work with everybody to make sure that, you know, we continue as a team here. And then we plan to meet on a monthly basis as an AIOPA team. So I'm going to go into the last slide that I prepared for our conversation. What are some of the potential areas for help? So David, you know, mentioned when he invited us, said, hey, we want to know how we can help. Now, I put certain things here. We don't have expectations that, you know, OCL will help in all of these, but at least this is an expression of the current need that we have in AIOPA. The first one is to share the end view. In the survey that we've recently done, there were some questions that people say, well, where is this going? Is there actually a plan out there? Are people working on a plan? Is the plan viable? Is the plan accepted by all the bishops? Where is this going? And some of that can be education, but it is a valid question. And so the more we can share around, yes, there is a plan, and this is the status of the plan, and this is where we are working, I think the better that's going to be. The second one is, as Father Thomas also alluded in the beginning, is to share the progress that each one of these, the 16 committees, are making. And we know there is, in the Assembly of Bishops website, there are the tasks being laid out. There is a matrix of who's responsible for what. Would be also good to share any dates that are there, and maybe any status. If some of these activities completed, then, you know, let's share them. Or the same survey that we've done in AIOPA is going to be very useful for us if we see other committees making progress, because that's going to encourage us to continue the work, to be continuously engaged in this particular work. So sharing, like I said, what's happening here with the other committees, that would be very useful and motivating for us that yes, there is progress, people are working on this. The third one, as I mentioned very quickly, is the relationship between hierarchs, parish clergy, and parish laity. As you very much know, parish laity, they need the parish clergy's blessing to be able to participate in some of these activities. Laities are generally volunteers in their parishes, and they have a lot of stuff in their parish, right? So it is important for the parish clergy to say, look, this is an Inter-Orthodox association. It's important to work on the church unity. So it's very useful when we see clergy supporting this particular effort. But also clergy, they need to have the hierarchs' blessings, because without that, it's not going to happen. So you get on kind of this circle. And like I said, this circle can start in all the places, can start at the hierarchs, can start at the clergy, can start at the laity. But anything we can do to strengthen this particular relationship, we believe is going to be useful for efforts like AIOPA. The other one is the relationship between hierarchs. We've also seen with Archbishop Nathaniel, this was really good. I'm using that as an example because that's what I know in this case. He was very supportive and tried to, give us guidance around reaching to other hierarchs. So we believe that the more hierarchs know about what happens in Atlanta and the more they support their local parishes, the better it's going to be. And then in the OCL here, we know there are local advocates for Orthodox Christian unity. And so would be good if through OCL we can do two things. One, share what happens in Atlanta, but the other one that we already received from David here, we received the websites and points of contact from other efforts, similar efforts that are happening throughout the United States. So this is a kind of a two-way street, and we want to learn from the others as well, such a way that we can expand the Inter-Orthodox Parish Association programs in other cities and fulfill the Committee for Canonical Regional Planning mission. To go through, I know we have here about minutes or so.
Very good. Thank you so much, Florian, Father Christos, and Father Thomas. If you have a question or would like to discuss anything, please unmute yourself, raise your hand first, and I can recognize you. I'm not sure if it has it on here though, but just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question. I don't see a hand raise possibility.
Charles has his hand raised.
Okay, Charles Agelot. Yes, please go ahead.
Charles, you're muted.
Now I'm unmuted.
There you go.
Yes.
I'm wondering what kind of resources you have, both from the assembly, if any, and otherwise, to do the kinds of things you want to do. I feel like the greater the resources, the greater the accomplishments God will provide.
So on this one, I'll start first, and then Father Christos, if you want to add here. So what we are trying to do primarily is to capitalize on the existing activities that are happening in parishes and expand those. The example that I gave, the charity one, was there is a parish that's doing a shoe collection program, and they have all of that established. And so what we want to do is to take that program that exists currently in just one parish and expand it on all parishes. So this is a highly scalable activity where the resources are just in the other parishes to be able to participate here, but we are trying to have a nice blend of taking existing activities and expanding them versus creating something that's completely new. So we're trying to kind of do both. So Father Christos, I'll let you add to it.
We use the example of the soup kitchen that was established at St. John the Wonder Worker, the OCA parish in Atlanta. The parish itself takes care of the actual feeding of the homeless because of their location, but all the parishes in Atlanta participate by either donations, financial, giving food, doing food drives, things like that. So each parish participates in the one ministry and we consider it a brotherhood now, an AIOPA opportunity for everyone to get together. So that was the kind of the concept. From the resources, obviously, each priest, when we talk about it in our meetings, when we talk about it now in the AIOPA, we try to push these things for them to talk about them, and we're going to be creating, like Florian was saying, we'll be creating some of the things for them to say, here's the things, here's where you go, here's how you give the information out. That's the ultimate goal, is really plug and play, right? We're going to have the shoe drive. Here's a flyer. Here's the information. Here's where to give to and who's going to be in charge of, and please participate. That's going to be the ultimate goal along the way.
Do all of the parishes, for example, participate in serving meals? And are you partnering with Fish and Loaves, or who?
Yeah, great question. So for the example of the soup kitchen, up until COVID, each parish could take days of the week to go and participate in person. Since COVID took place and it was very difficult to do that, the actual system has changed. So now we can prepare food beforehand, such as sandwiches or other things like that, and deliver it to the parish, in which then it is distributed to the people. So there is a small change because of what happened during COVID. The parish itself, though, tells us their regulations and what they need us to do on for them.
Thank you. David, Bill Suval's got his hand up.
Okay, Bill, thank you. Please go ahead, Bill, unmute yourself.
You have to unmute yourself.
All right. I don't, oh, you mean he does, or I do?
He does. There he goes. I still can't hear you, Bill. No. We can't hear you.
You have to connect your audio.
It's not, yeah, we don't hear you. Okay. Maybe he'll figure it out here, or he can, yeah, he can put it in the chat and we can bring it up. Is there someone else with a hand up? I can't really tell. Okay, George.
Yeah, is AIOPA set up as a separate 501c3 officers, that sort of thing, or it's just a grouping of clergy and lay people, the way it's outlined? Okay.
Correct. It's just a group, yeah.
Right.
Okay, Charles again. Yes, please. Need to have you on mute.
You're muted.
George's question is quite appropriate because if anyone wants to help with AIOPA, for example, contribute to it, typically they can only give foundations, for example, to a 501c3. Are you receiving outside donations? And if so, how?
We have not yet discussed that, Charles, on how we're going to do that. I mean, Florian, we could put that down for our discussion in our meetings, but that was not something that had yet come up since we were still in the organizational stage, but that's not a bad question.
All right.
Matukas.
Yes, you spoke that there were two bishops that gave their blessings, Nathaniel and Alexios. Who are the other bishops that are involved in this region, in this, I don't know what they call it. Each jurisdiction defines their geographic area differently, but what are the other bishops involved? Who are they?
Yeah.
And why don't you invite them somehow together to come and give a program?
Absolutely.
Have
So
them
we
come
are
together.
Yeah, so at this point, I would not position, I mean, the way I would position this one is work in progress, right? We've identified those things. That's one area we're working on. And I know Father Christos started already dialogue in that space. So we are not at the point where we're not seeing engagement. We just didn't start that. Again, we are going into multiple places. We're just activating here for 2.5 months, but we hope that's gonna happen shortly here.
Who are the other bishops? Thomas, is Thomas one of them? Bishop Thomas? who's the Antiochian bishop, who's the OCA bishop that needs to get involved? What's their names?
So
The Antiochian bishop is Bishop Nicholas in
Well, I
Miami.
think that Bishop Nicholas should be involved. You have done an amazing amount of work. I mean, I'm very impressed that they should know. You should make this presentation to the bishops.
We are trying to. We just, like I said, we just had our first. We have actually a newsletter, and just Father Christos sent it yesterday, in which we're trying to explain, what we've done, what we are planning to do. So we're in the process of distributing that one to
And how about
others.
the website? How does the website work? Is that an independent? It's the brother.
It's the
Clergy
brotherhood, yes, and
Brotherhood.
there are lines, there are pages, I would say, dedicated to AIOPA. There's one page about AIOPA in which we describe a little bit what I've shared tonight. Then we have a page of the news where we share, different news that we've done, and then we have a page of the events. Those activities that you've seen in that slide, they have corresponding events. So we're starting to populate the website with those events such a way that people can go on the website and see, hey, what's happening? What's the next event in which I can participate?
I
So
know
we're
that
working
you've
through that.
been. I'm very impressed with the amount of work in 2 months. But is this also on social media that young people?
We have
don't
it.
know.
Yes,
I'm not
yes,
literate in computer stuff. But
that's an activity that's potentially identified, but we have not yet identified the resource that can do Facebook and Instagram. But it came up, so hopefully we'll be there one day. But right now we want to start with the website because everybody has the website, so we want to start there. Yes. But it is, like I said, it's if you go, then the previous website has it. Yeah, it's there.
I'm very impatient, but I understand.
Well,
I've been doing this for 30 some years. And
hey,
I've been patient.
David.
Go ahead, Peter, speak.
Oh, great. Yeah, hi. Forgive me, I'm not on video. I'm in a car. I'm blown away, impressed. I commend you for all of your efforts and progress. I share George's anxiousness for the progress that we anticipate you will make, but it's really impressive what you've done so far. The model that you set forth that certainly OCL would like to help you share with other communities, geographies, to hopefully foster similar efforts across the country. I guess the one question I'd have is, other than the fact that you're still sort of lifting off and picking up speed, that being maybe a little obvious, have you felt any particular resistance to your efforts along the way, or things that words of caution or education for other groups on things to maybe avoid or do perhaps even better?
That's a great question. I have to tell you, from we encountered something that we didn't necessarily expect. So the effort began with the Clergy Brotherhood, which we have a list. I have like 3 or 4 emails for each of the clergy. Personal church emails, phone numbers, all that kind of stuff. And one particular clergy member, after about 2.5 months, we sent out an email just saying, hey, looking forward to more of your participation, and thank you so much for giving us names of people. And he wrote back and says, I never gave you my people. Why are you using them? And, we're not going to participate. I was like, wait a minute. All the information went to the clergy. They were supposed to provide the people. They were supposed to provide the resources. They were supposed to provide all the things, and you gave me them. So I don't understand what happened. So we had a small hiccup there with a person who participated, didn't realize they participated, and then didn't like that they were participating. So, So I mean, we've reached out a couple times. I've had other clergy who are close to him talk with him to see, but they all cautioned me and just says, let him cool down a little bit and see what happens. So that's one of those things that I've learned along the way is sometimes your emails, you don't necessarily read them, you just do them, and then you go back and finally realize what you did. So I think that's what happened.
So
Interesting.
Yeah,
life goes on. There's
Yeah,
only
on
one
the
guy.
same question, yeah, so the recent survey that we did, and we're gonna share the results on Tuesday, asked the question, what are the advantages of solving the problem of the Orthodox diaspora, and also what are the perceived disadvantages? And what I can just say at this point is the population that we surveyed, which is the AIOPA, members, I would say their opinions were very similar to the general opinions that we're all familiar about being out there in the topic. So there is a large variety of opinions, right? Some people are, one camp, others in a different camp. So I would say nothing new came out of that. But it is important to establish those because there were certain topics that I think with education, they can be clarified and they can be moved from like a fears position into a factual position. But there are others that remain the way they are, and you are very familiar with those ones as well. So I see Father Anthony has his
Yes.
hand up. Yeah,
Yes, he's been waiting
member
patiently.
of
Go ahead,
AIOPA, yeah.
Father. Thank you, Father.
Well, I wanted to say, Florian and Father Christos, you're brilliant. Just the leadership and the assessment of the situation and to keeping the momentum going forward is really stunningly beautiful. So I commend you on that. Is there a timetable for, you said these two areas are pilot areas. Is there a timetable for bringing in others to expand it to their clergy brotherhoods? Do you have any research on which areas might be viable or good prospects for expansion? Do you have anything like that?
It's a good question, Father Anthony.
Is that addressed to Florian or Father
Who's that
Christos?
addressed to? That's a good question, Father Anthony.
Yeah.
Anyone, right? You're addressed into the whole group.
I might jump in here if
Please,
it's not
please.
inappropriate, and because in Akron we are the other site that's involved in this pilot situation. We're at a different phase than Atlanta is, but we excuse me, we really don't understand our mission as being to spread the word just yet. We are we understand the mandate as we've gotten it from the assembly as being just really to focus on developing or presenting or improving a workable local model that then later might be a model for others to use. It would inform other efforts in other localities. The Atlanta, what Atlanta produces is going to be quite, I can see this right now, is going to be quite different from what Akron produces, for instance, and it's dictated by local circumstances, which include resources and personnel and history and all of that sort of stuff. So I wouldn't, at least from Akron's point of view, we're not in the business of exporting something. We're in the business of producing a model that can inform. I'll put a period there.
I think it would be helpful to, if Father Anthony is from Akron, to get a feel for what things they've been doing.
Father, yeah.
Right,
Not
and
Father.
we're in the process of that. We're approaching it a little bit differently, only because, and I don't want to hijack the conversation here. So I'll just say that in Akron, there's a fairly lengthy history of activity, and we're more in the process of articulating what that has been and where we are and putting together a plan going forward. So it's just different.
Yeah, I think from that OCL is involved in this discussion and having it tonight. The what really caught my attention was Orthodox Christian unity and from the ground up. And if that happens and there is communication and we go with our strengths, in other words, what's natural, as Florian said, without trying to reinvent new things, but just capitalize on what's there, then I think it'll be easier for hierarchs to just, put their stamp of approval rather than have to, force unity of some sort, just acknowledge that it's already there. So each area is going to do it differently. And I know Akron is well known for their work with OCF, the Orthodox Christian Fellowship. They're way ahead of everybody else. They've been paying people for years. They didn't wait around for anybody to tell them what to do. They just did it. And that's best practices. That's a good model. So I don't know if there has to be a force fit. It's just we all have to be attentive. Let us attend.
A lot of it, it begins with the relationships between the local clergy themselves. And in Akron, we're all friends. Our wives are all friends. In many cases, our kids were friends. I say were because a lot of them are grown up and gone off to do what they do. So, there's that too.
And that is the key. And that's why I think Atlanta is so successful, is because we really love each other and we look forward to getting together. And the cathedral sets it up. They make it easy. They host us. They provide a lunch. Father Theodore and I, he drives to Macon, I drive from Athens, probably the farthest, but we do it on a regular basis because it really is a respite. And that is the key, that relational, building this on relationship, I think is the key.
Very good. Father Ian, I don't know if you saw in the chat, Joseph all asked a question directly to you. Are you going to partner up with Cleveland, where our pal Andy Cartalis has worked hard to promote a real working pan-Orthodox situation?
I've had at least one or two conversations with you, Bill, and I know enough to deny that you are too knuckleheaded to figure out your audio, but you just don't have time right now. So it's good to see you too. Our prayers are always for your continued health and all of that. It's interesting. We've had collaborative efforts with Cleveland, mostly around such things as IOCC and clergy retreats and those kinds of things. So I think Cleveland and Akron really consider themselves separate localities. In another metropolitan area, Akron might be part of the greater whatever, because Cleveland is a half hour from my house, right, like in downtown Cleveland. But here in Akron, we are what we are, and so there's collaboration, but there's no formal integration at this point.
I have a question.
Okay, Alice, we'll have to make this the last one. We're at the top of the hour.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm from Chicago. Do you think that OCL is on target in focusing on Orthodox Christian Church unity at this time? Do you think we should wait, or we have passed our moment? Because if I recall correctly, 100 years ago, it seems to me that from the 1960s, we've been talking about Orthodox Christian unity. And here we are, we're still talking about it. Is this the readiness moment for OCL to go full force on this subject? Because my personal feeling is, I'm all for it, of course, but my personal feeling is that
Is
so
there a
many
question there?
Orthodox. Well, that's part of the question. I don't think that many people are aware of the importance of a united Orthodox Church in America.
I think maybe I'll just jump in if I could. This is, I think that Alice, you've captured some of the frustrations of the past decades,
right?
And hope springs eternal. So I think the work of my familiarity, my experience of the work of the Assembly of Bishops is really not about transforming things in the next year. And I don't know, when I was growing up, we used to say Orthodoxy has a slow track and a fast track, and the fast track is 300 years. So we'll see.
Takes a lot of
And
patience.
Bill, I love Andy. He's a great guy. So maybe we'll have a chance to talk some more and explore those pathways.
And I personally, these sorts of issues really rely on the Holy Spirit. We can give it all the effort we want, but being part of this meeting tonight, I said, something's different. We just have to avoid burnout and persevere and let the Holy Spirit bring it about.
Agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a response for Alice before we sign off for the evening?
We'll muddle on.
Well, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing.
Right.
There you go. Well, we want to thank again Nick Anton, who's on the call with us tonight, for arranging all of this. We really appreciate it, Nick. And we appreciate the presenters who spent time organizing and getting ready to present all this to us. Father Thomas Zain, who had to sign off, who is flying somewhere, and we have Father Christos Mars and Florian Yuan. We're very appreciative for the time you spent with us, and we look forward to more collaboration. Yes, George.
I wonder if we could get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation.
Sure.
Yes. If it's not, copywritten or something, we could put it up on our website as a model, getting it out to other areas. I think it would be helpful. It was a great presentation.
It was very good. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
It's inspiring. We're going to move ahead.
Yes.
Well, I see Archbishop Nathaniel.
Yes, Your Eminence. Thank you for joining us, Your Eminence. I know he's traveling. You're muted, Your Eminence.
Unmute. How's that?
There you go.
Okay. Just finished with our program.
I see. Very good. We're just finishing here too, but we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Yes.
And
hi, George.
For your blessing and
hi, George.
George.
Yes, and everyone else.
And everybody
thank
else.
you.
There's 17 of us here.
Oh my
Thank you.
goodness. Wonderful.
Yes, Your Eminence.
Yes.
Yes.
You weren't here,
Thank
but we
you.
talked about you. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, everyone. Now, board members, remember, if you can stick around a little longer, we just have something to discuss for those who are able to stick around. So everyone else can leave, but OCL board members, we would like to.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bless everyone. Good night.